Hey everyone. Obviously it's been a week. There's a lot of people that are elated, a lot of people that are sad, everything in between. But I haven't posted in a little while because I was volunteering for the election and I needed some time to think about next steps. So here I am. Um, so I was not happy when I woke up yesterday. I woke up, um, I put on my game face. I got my kids off to school, and then I just cried. And then I went for a run. I was in a place at the time where I just thought, fuck it. I'm in New Jersey. We swear here, so sorry, but that's just kind of how it is. Um, I thought, you know what, fuck it. Like we're clearly in this country where everyone just cares for themselves. People who voted for Trump just care about themselves. They don't care who's hurt, whatever. And you know what? I've got kids to provide for. I've got a family to provide for. So what the hell am I doing all this for? Because it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to be hurt. If Trump wins, I'm not the target. I'm in New Jersey. We've got, abortion here and, financially we're okay. So what does it matter to me? I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to worry about myself because that's what everyone else is doing. I was pissed. Um, but then, I went for a run. My alma mater, Rutgers, had a really awesome call at the Eagleton Institute for Politics. They host it after every election, and I listened in on that because I was like, you know what, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to sort out my thoughts. Like, I need to get my head in a more productive place. Um, and there were a lot of great points. I will link to it. But one of the main points that Matt Duhame, a political operative, brought up was that. Um, first of all, incumbents around the world have been getting voted out globally in this post-COVID period of inflation and economic, recovery and stability, whatever you want to call it. So that's one thing. I mean, this is just something that's been happening around the globe too. He talked about the anger in the American electorate, which isn't new. I mean, this has gone back to the Great Financial Crisis, 2006, 2008. People lost a lot. Um, and I haven't really taken any time in this project or podcast to talk about my own background too much. So I'll just take you through that for a second because I think it brings context. I thought about that because have dipped in and out of politics throughout my life, my career. I've been a political geek since I was a kid. I was Barbara Bush for Halloween one year in middle school. I majored in, poli sci my freshman year of college at American University when I first decided this is not what I want to do for my career, for my whole life. Um, then I went on to the corporate world. I got a master's in public policy during the great financial crisis. I was crazy enough to leave a really good job and decided I wanted to kind of figure out what was going on in the country, try to help people. Um, after doing that, pursuing a PhD, working a lot, getting paid nothing, I realized I kind of needed to shore up my balance sheet, get a good job again, make some money, buy a house, settle down, that kind of thing. So that's kind of like what I did. But when I was in public policy, one of the things I focused on was labor market research, labor market economics, and I spent time during the financial crisis interviewing people who'd lost their jobs during the Great Recession. And one of the things that was shocking to me, and I thought another layer of complexity to this policy issue, were the people I spoke to who had really, really good jobs going into the recession and during that period had to settle for jobs that were paying them far less. And I'm talking about lawyers that had great jobs and were now working at contract hourly positions as lawyers. Um, and other highly skilled people. So not only did we have all these people who were significantly set back because they had been out of the labor market for a really long time, but even people that were able to get jobs quickly, highly educated, highly skilled, they were still suffering. And what was that going to do for the years and years to come, right? Um, when I heard that, I thought, you know what, that brings a totally different perspective. Because as a parent, I know how hard it is to just provide for a family. And something we talk about in our house a lot is that we do quite well. And it's still, not easy, right? Everything is expensive, and childcare is expensive. Activities are expensive. Aftercare programs, if you have two working parents, those are expensive. Um, a lot of this, I mean, I know Trump supporters personally, and they're not all like, you know, waving Nazi flags. They're not racist. Um, I mean, some of them are just like, I just want a better life for my family. And I've been reading some articles where they interview Trump supporters. There was a good one that was done at a rally in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is like the swingiest of the swing counties, some people say. They interviewed a young woman who was crying. She was so happy Trump won because she wants to have a family and she doesn't think she can afford to. And that I get that. I get that. So I'm doing my best just to figure out, okay, we're all in this country together. I don't want a civil war. I don't want to fight with people. Anger is exhausting to me. So how do we move forward? And also, what's next for those of us who are really scared? Um, so, I'm now at the point where I'm like thinking about what's next. I'm focused on what's next. And I think that's where we should all be. I happen to be concerned that we could very easily get on a track to being what Hungary or Russia is, right? Um, and I also think there are people who voted for Trump who don't want that either. Um, I, I'm not a pundit. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who gives a shit and I care about our democracy. I also, am the person who gets texts from a lot of their friends around election time as to, what's this issue on the ballot and where does this candidate stand and who should I vote for? Because this is just something I've always been passionate about. I've always been plugged into. So I'm a dork. People reach out to me when they have these types of questions. Um, but what I can say is that, as someone who's not fully entrenched in the political world, but I know enough about it to know how it works, is that um, I think this project and other efforts to engage people on issues, get away from party politics, this is more important than ever. The whole point of Politics for Parents is accountability work. And my first thought yesterday was, well, like, election day's done. We've elected the new representatives, and that's when the accountability work comes in. So for the next few months, I'm going to be watching who Trump is appointing to his cabinet positions. Um, and in New Jersey, we have our state elections next year. So in New Jersey, we have no time to really get ready because we're already in the next election cycle. Um, so, a couple things to think about. In New Jersey, we were the closest in a presidential election we've been for 30 years. New Jersey's a really expensive state to live in, and a lot of other people I've spoken to in the organizing space have also reiterated that our election results on Tuesday were I think, a signal to the Democratic Party in the state that we need to like get on the level with people who just care about kitchen table issues. Um, I don't think, I can really demonize somebody who's overlooking a nebulous concept of, protecting democracy or, our leadership position in the world and the war in Ukraine when like they're really just focused on providing for their family in a really expensive state with really high taxes and they don't feel like the party in charge is listening to them. Like I get that. And for me, I think as we go through this next chapter, I'm, watching what's happening in New Jersey. I'm paying pretty close attention to our elections and how they're run, without getting into the technical issues of it. If you live in New Jersey, I'd love to talk to you more about that. But nationally, um, I think there are a lot of Trump supporters who don't want us to descend into fascism or anything like that. So I'm also thinking about, okay, well, how do we engage these people, and how do we figure out what it would take for them to act? If there's a women's march in January, and Trump deploys the military on protesters to silence them, is that a point at which they'd say, okay, they'd wake up and say, okay, I need to push back on this? Um, if he follows through on mass deportations and starts rounding people up, regardless of if they're here legally or not, just immigrants generally, is that something that would wake them up and bring them, into this pro-democracy coalition? I think there's been so much great work done over the last, 100 plus days with the Harris campaign. We have seen women of all types of, backgrounds come together and volunteer. We have seen Liz Cheney, uh, sound the alarm. We've seen so many diverse groups of people come together to fight for those core beliefs we all hold, and it didn't work. We are where we are, and I'm just the kind of person that accepts where you are in a situation and then just focuses on how to get through it. Um, so I think, number one is figuring out where there are potential, um, opportunities to bring new people in, and to continue to have productive, constructive conversations with people about what is really happening. And I think for that to happen, we need good information, right? We need to get the message out, and we need people to work together to try to rebuild a constructive dialogue in this country, and it's got to be based on facts, and it's got to be um, targeted to the people, the everyday voter. I think accountability work is a big part of that. I think we've got to be talking to families about what matters in their life when it comes to the economy. By the way, when it comes to the economy, I mean, I think any of us know, like, the president really doesn't have anything to do with the stock market. But at the same time, people vote on how they feel, and inflation has been tough. True, wages have risen, and inflation has, from a technical perspective, subsided. But we all know, w- like, I mean, clearly from the results we saw on Tuesday, that doesn't really matter. So at any rate, I'm focused on just what the path forward is, continuing this work because it's going to matter. It's going to matter. Trump ran on the economy. He ran on, immigration. He ran on, um, well, I don't know, a lot. I'm not going to get into that. But at the end of the day, the accountability work is going to be what's important. Um, at this point, we have an opportunity to, see what happens if he does put the tariffs in place that he's talking about. We have an opportunity to talk to people about what the impact of that is. We have to continue to have factual discussions, engage with people, and we just have to invest in a new way to get the word out, and we have to engage new people and bring them in. Um, get off MSNBC. Like, I just think that the mainstream Democrats, the party bosses, I mean, they're just out of touch. And what we need to do is just talk about the day to day issues, and what really matters to us as parents. Because one thing that everyone says in these Democratic circles, and I actually do believe it when they say it, is that we all want the same thing. And people differ on how to get there. And I think, unfortunately, disinformation has played a large role in discussions around schools and book bans and transgender rights and a lot of that stuff. But when it comes down to it, as parents, we are just trying to do the best we possibly can for our kids. So I do think there's incredible value in having this space and a platform that talks frankly, factually, about these issues, and it's not tied to a party or a candidate or an election. It's just an ongoing place for information to empower parents, and understand how they can use their political power to really make change, and to advocate for better policies. Having said that, I've talked to so many people who are so terrified of what this new presidency means for them. And I'm not going to share anything too specific because those are private conversations and I respect that. Um, but, when Trump and the Republicans talk about disbanding the Affordable Care Act and they have no plan to replace it, that means a lot to people who depend on the Affordable Care Act for their loved ones or themselves, especially those with pre existing conditions. Parents who have children with pre-existing conditions. So, I mean, that's something that is an issue that the government actually plays a very large role in your life with that policy. Um, Immigration. I live in a town with a lot of migrants and dreamers who his presidency means something for them, and for my daughter and her classmates and people who feel scared right now. At the same, I feel that there's a responsibility for us to let them know that we are with them and we are behind them, because that's what America's about too. We are good people. We do want freedom. I think most of us respect the fact that people see this still as the land of opportunity, and we should strive to make it so. Um, but that also means, like, yeah, for the average working family, who, they deserve that too. So, um, at any rate, I don't want to ramble on, but I do just want to make it clear that I think this is an idea worth continuing, and I welcome anyone who wants to be a part of it to join, because this isn't my job. I don't make money off of it, and enough people have said they really enjoy the work and they think that this is important. That I would love to have some more people help with the podcast. You can host it, if you know friends who are in media, or you do editing, or you want to be a part of this, please come on board, because if I learned anything, it's that um, there are so many awesome people out there that I've met over the past few months that like like this work, that follow this podcast, that subscribe to the Substack. I have organized alongside so many great people over the past few months in this pro democracy movement. And the work continues, and I think we need to tap into it and bring it forward. And we don't need to wait for, some candidate to come out of DC and shower us with rhetoric and tell us this is the path forward. I mean, I think a lot of us know ourselves what the path forward is, and we have plenty of tools to make it happen ourselves. So that's what I plan to do. I would love for you to come along this journey with me. Um, Real quick, I do think good information, as I said before, is more important than ever. Um, so I would say what I'm following now, Ben Rhodes, an Obama staffer, came out with a book that I'm going to be reading, where he interviewed dissidents in places like Hungary and Russia, et cetera. And I'll be reading that to kind of understand what it's like in those places, because I am just thinking about a broad range of possibilities of where our country goes from here. The 19th is an awesome news source. I highly, highly suggest you subscribe. Become a paid subscriber to the 19th. It's a women led outlet by really great journalists. They focus on a lot of women's issues. And I think, for women, it is really important that we continue to center women's issues. Um, Also, I love NPR. I love ProPublica. So I follow those sources. Um, I'm gonna turn off cable news. I'm just done with it. Um, I love Rachel Maddow. I find her entertaining. But Andrea Mitchell yesterday made a comment that, um, it's going to be tough to get a spa appointment in DC this weekend. All the women of DC are going to go to the spas and do self-care. And I just think that is just so out of touch. For the people who are really afraid, and that this potential change in leadership is going to mean for them, they're not thinking about a spa appointment. Like, I've hugged and cried with people who are genuinely scared right now. Um, so I'm thinking about them, and I'm just the kind of person that thinks about working my ass off more than I think about going to the spa. And if you're at all of that mind, I welcome you to reach out to me on any platform or anywhere you can. Um, Comment on the Substack, whatever. So those are a few things I'm doing. The Bulwark also. The Bulwark is a really awesome group of people. Tim Miller, Sarah Longwell, they just do really awesome work. And I think we should be looking to voices like them, people that aren't Democrats. They're former Republicans and people that are kind of in the middle and just really want us to get back to a healthy place in civic discourse, um, in our country's leadership. Um, we'd love to see our democracy to continue, um, and get back to a more productive place. That's genuinely, I think, what a lot of people want. So that's it. stay tuned for more. You know, while we wait for the transition period to go to take place, I'm going to actually be searching for partners on this work, figuring out the best way to collaborate because I do think collaboration is going to be key. We don't need to create new groups and do all sorts of new stuff. There's a lot of great people already within this movement who've got the skills, who have their own groups, and I'd love to partner or collaborate with anyone um, who wants to do that. And I offer, my own skill set, this platform to that.